Welcome to No Worries Finance. I'm JD, and we're here to talk about debt and money issues in the hopes that one day you can be debt-free and financially flexible. Because life is a lot more chill when you have no worries in your financial life. If you're interested in seeing more videos just like this one, then hit that subscribe button below and we can take this journey together. Today's video is my debt confession. I'm going to go over all the debt that I accumulated in my life. I'll break down the forms of debt, how much I took out, and how my debt progressed over the years. The first debt I ever took on was a credit card when I was 18 years old. I got an American Express Delta Sky Miles card. My mother had suggested I get a credit card to start building my credit history. I wasn't planning on getting a credit card because I had already heard some of my high school classmates talking about the credit card debt they had been racking up. I remember one in particular told us at lunch that he had gotten a credit card and was all excited. A couple of weeks later, he updated us that he had already maxed it out after a large shopping spree that past weekend. It baffled me that my classmates were just spending so wildly, so I had it in my head that I wouldn't get one. But my mother insisted and talked to me about how important your credit score is if you want to ever buy a house, so I took her advice and I got one. I chose a Sky Miles card because I knew I would be choosing a college far away from home, so I figured I'd be able to put the rewards to good use. This American Express card came with a high $250 annual fee, which is not good. I didn't think too much about it at the time. American Express had a prestige in my mind because of stories I had heard about the American Express Black card, and so I went with them. I was young and dumb, you know how it goes. In general, you want to avoid cards with annual fees if you can. Another drawback to this card that I did not know going into it is that there are a lot of businesses that do not accept American Express because it has higher transaction fees for the business. My next debt was my student loans for college. I got into several schools and eventually decided to go to USC. USC was the most expensive school I had applied for, but they also provided me with the most financial assistance. My parents were not able to pay for any of my college, so I knew it was going to be all on me. The smallest schools I applied for were much cheaper, but they provided such smaller assistant packages that it made my decision pretty easy. After 4 years at USC, I had taken out $55,000 in student loans. That's not bad at all considering how expensive that school is. But like I said, my family does not make much money, so USC did a lot to help me out. It could have been much worse. During my sophomore year at USC, I decided to take out a second credit card. I had done a very good job of only using my American Express card for purchases that I could afford and paying it off right away. By getting a second card, I wanted to increase my total number of debt accounts to help improve my credit score. I ended up choosing a Discover cashback card with no annual fee this time. When I graduated from USC, I now had about $60,000 in student loans thanks to the accumulating interest and my two credit cards, which had no debt on them. I decided to stay in California and got a cheap apartment with two college friends. This is where things started to go bad, though. I had no car, and I was having trouble finding work near my apartment. It took me about 4 months to find a job, and during that time, I took on substantial credit card debt in order to cover my rent and have food to eat. I found a low-paying retail job and eventually took on a second job at a grocery store, working 7 days a week just to pay the bills. Once my student loan payments kicked in, things were really tight. At this point, I was sitting on $7,000 in credit card debt. My breakthrough came when I found a restaurant gig downtown. I had to take the train and the commute was much longer, but it paid better than my two jobs combined. Plus, I could go back to 5 days of work and not run myself into the ground any longer. The restaurant job gave me some breathing room, and I was able to earn my way into the best shifts. With the extra cash, I saved up a $2,000 down payment for a car and took out a car loan for $11,000. This was the last debt I ever took out. Around this time, I had about $70,000 in student loans, $11,000 on my two credit cards, which were now both maxed out, and $11,000 now for the car, for a total of somewhere over $90,000 in debt. That was in 2013. I would coast from there just paying the minimum payments on my debt, I wasn't really taking it very seriously. I wouldn't truly have a wake-up call until 2016. It was then that I had a moment where I legitimately didn't think I was going to be able to stay in California. I was struggling to make rent, and it was just so hard that I was really considering moving back in with my mother. I had to sit down and look at everything, and I really realized what I had done to myself. And I decided that I didn't want to live like this for the rest of my life, and I needed to make a change. It was that day I got serious, buckled down, and started my debt-free journey.